So I've been meaning to do something like this for a while now, but I never really knew how. I'm trying a very low-tech solution. This is the piece that I drew at the Christian Connection Church here in Odessa when Dr. Weeks, the Mr. Dr. Weeks, I think his name is Dr. Weeks, he may just be Mr. Weeks, preached an incredible sermon during our Ash Wednesday service. These are the markers that I use to color. And the lines, these are Copic markers, most of them. I don't know if you've ever seen them. Copic. And they have this brush tip that I really like. They also have, these ones also have a more chisel type edge. And then let's see here, there's two versions of them. I have like one of these, which are kind of classic, and they have the brush tip, but they also have a more fine point. And then there's these are the chows, and they have the brush tip, and then they also have a chisel tip as well. And each of them are identified by this mark there. I also use these to a certain extent, mainly this one. These are from the Blick Studio site. And so they're just like the Copics. It's just the Copics are more expensive and also of a higher quality. But I have looked and looked for a purple that is like this color purple and anything but Blick. And I don't see it. And there are a few other colors that I occasionally will use as well. But for the most part, I stick with my Copics. I really like them. And oh, if you were wondering, like, what I do, the pen that I use, I think this is the Micron pen. That's the one I've kind of settled on. I do use some others. I'll use whatever comes to hand. But I really like the tip on this. And of course, it's not focusing on the tip. There we go. But I really like the tip on this one. I like the control, and I don't know. There's just something about the way it writes that I really like. And so let's see how this really low rent version thing will do. So hopefully this will allow you to see as I do some of the inks on this. I think I'm going to start with the heart. So this was inspired, I know I've seen pictures of a heart that was pierced by swords. And so this is a sword pierced by crosses. The Christian church that I went to, they had 3 crosses on the wall. And I was just thinking of this. And then, of course, there's the ashes, or there's the fire, which turns to ashes. And so these are supposed to be the logs. But new life is springing out of this. And the sermon was about creating us, or the scripture that was read, and the sermon too, was create in us a clean heart, O God. And you've got, Christ, and then kind of the sun and the moon to a certain extent. At least that was the plan. So we'll see how it goes. I'm feeling like this Lent, man, this Lent is especially kind of poignant. Normally, I would have a sheet with all the colors on it. Some of you guys, if you've seen me actually do this in real life, you may have seen it before. I lose those sheets every so often. I have misplaced one of my pads because life. So I'll probably create a new one. So you may see me actually test colors out. But I think this will be a good red. This is the R27. So I'm going to use this on part of the heart here. And so if I had license to some really chill EDM music, I would put it on in the background So you could just kind of chill out watching me draw. If you want, you can just mute me talking and turn on something of your own. What speaks to your soul right now? What speaks to your heart? I think we're in a space where there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of pain. I'm probably going to write this up later, but I've been thinking about what to write. I keep being drawn back to the idea that it's times like these that remind us that awful and awesome come from the same root. Because all around us we see so much pain. So many moments where it's easy to give into fear. I know I'm not scared for myself, but some of the people that I love. And it's not necessarily that I wouldn't be at risk, but, at the same time I have faith, and I know that this is my temporary home, as the song says. And there's a quote by Martin Luther that I keep going to as well. I can't think of it right at this moment, but it's good to me for us to remember that other people have lived through these times as well. And it's also hard. I know people have questions about what's going on. It feels, like in times of pandemic, it's hard to know if you're over or underprepared, and it's such an invisible threat. And once it's visible, it's already made its way past the lines. But that's okay, because no matter what happens to my body, my God has me for eternity. So here's this. This is R46, if you can see. I don't know. Trying to think how deeply I want here. I think I may try for something. Let's see here. Did I use R17? Another reason I like to have the sheet is because, one of my secret rules that I don't tell to everybody is that normally when I am doing this, I try to use different colors for each. Like to where different colors don't touch. That's why I used a different color on that, because it was so close to that. And so it helps me to remember, especially when you've got these reds where they look very similar. I have to remember all my tricks for how I remember what color I've already used and where. And having that sheet really helps. See, I was tempted to go there with it. But yeah, so fear, is an emotion that hits the heart. And I think also compassion, fear not for ourselves necessarily, but the people that we love, the people we know that God loves. Yeah. Let's see here. This is a brown. E is for earth tones. I don't know if you guys can see that, but this is EO8 that goes there. Maybe I'll just use that. I don't know if I want to use it on all of them. I like to kind of balance things out when I'm doing my colors. Here's EO7, which is, these are one of the more classic ones. And, oh, I was wrong. This only has the chisel tip and the sharper tip, and so I don't like the chisel tip as much. I know that's the classic Sharpie tip, but I'll use this one. It allows for fine details anyways. So it's a slightly different brown. Sometimes it's hard to tell, especially once you get it scanned. They kind of start to look similar. And I can already see a couple little mistakes. That one went right outside the lines. And then these, I didn't get quite to the lines, but I kind of feel like it doesn't have to be perfect, because only God is perfect. When I was a kid, my grandma, so I think it was R27 that I already used, probably. Let's see. My mom's mom, my grandmother, she did a thing called hard anger, which is not hard and it's not angry either. Hard anger is, I think it's Norwegian, an art form kind of like embroidery. It's a type of embroidery, actually. And she made these pillows that were intricately embroidered like all across their surface. But I would go through as a kid and I would look for that one spot where she'd made a mistake. Oh, this one. I have to be really careful with this one because they overfilled it with ink. So the last time I used it, it didn't go well. I think I'll just skip that one and go for a similar shade. But yeah, the last time I used it, the ink came out of the tip and it definitely went over the lines. So there's that one. You can tell which end has the brush end on these because it's got the little kind of gray line. I mean, it's all gray, but a darker gray line. Tips and tricks. I do love Copics. Normally I do this in service. I didn't go to church this Sunday. I mean, I worshiped in my own way. And I have my family around me, and I have others. But I miss the community. I don't know, there's something about this whole situation happening in Lent. Because it's a time of fasting, imposed fasting in a way. But it's like, to me with fasting you feel the loss, but the loss calls you back to God. I saw one of my students today. She came into the church. I was helping my dad's secretary, and I didn't hug her, and that's hard. It's, I think it's easy to take so much for granted. And maybe we're finding that ability to spend time with our families, the ability to learn how to be in close proximity to another human being, where we don't necessarily have the same choices to be mobile as before, at least not in a responsible fashion to me. it reminds us of our own frailty and our own weakness, and I don't know. That's not necessarily a bad thing if it turns us back to the power of God. You know, it's like 1 Corinthians 13, all of this will pass away, right? Rulers and kings, even the earth itself. But what we have with God will never fail, never fade away. Oh, I almost colored that and I can't. See, if I get too involved in myself, I make mistakes. I think that happens to the best of us, right? Right? Sure. C7. This is a cool gray. Have you ever thought of gray in terms of warm and cool? It definitely is. So you guys can still, can you see that part? I think so. Yeah. I find myself humming various songs, sometimes hymns. I think of the two thieves that were crucified on either side of Christ. What hope? What hope? To be the one that admonished the hopeless one. To be the one that reminded him that this was the Christ. To be the one invited to heaven. We talk about deathbed confessionals sometimes. And, you know, I'm a firm believer that this relationship that we have with God is one developed over a lifetime. But everybody's journey is different. Oh, this is C3, like C3PO. And C1, this is the lightest. How can you see that? Yeah, the lightest of the cool grays. Oh, really, I could. I was thinking about using a warm gray for the other cross, but I don't know. I think it's just fine. Because again, they're not touching each other. Think about the man that didn't choose to have faith at the end. That thought faith foolishness. How rational that was, perhaps. And yet how sad. Oh. It'll be fine. I am totally gonna forget which reds I've used. That's alright too. These are two different colors. There we go. Oh, cool. Let's see here. We could do oranges. Why not? Oh. Oh. Sometimes when I'm drawing, I have a choice of colors. But that's okay. That looks nice, actually. Oh, this fiery passion that pierces the soul, wounds the heart. Yellow, red, 07. Oh yeah, the YR on these means yellow, red instead of orange. I don't know why, but I'm sure they had a good reason. I wonder if there are languages that don't have an orange color name. There's actually a math problem on how many colors you need to be able to color in shapes that run up against each other without having two of the same color touch each other. It's probably a little bit more formal than what I do, but still kind of the same idea. I used to do this with pens, like actual like gel pens. I like them a lot still. I think it's Pentel, the Inkjoy. Yeah, the Inkjoy. That's when I was first, when I went to seminary, I did this with a black ballpoint pen on paper. And then my friend Kim, she bought me some of one version of the Inkjoy, like they're kind of triangular. They're not the fat ones, but they're thinner. They're still colors, anyways. But she bought them for me for Christmas, and so I started using color, and I did a lot of things in color. Your art, the way you do your art, I think, changes over time if you let it. I don't know. Okay. Yes. Yes. This is 68. Yellow, red, 68. Ooh, that's not quite what I was expecting. I was thinking it would be something more like the thing, but I feel like it's more muted. I don't know. I like it though. I was expecting something brighter, but it's still nice. I have a song. I don't even know. It's from the 80s, I think. Probably from some teen movie. I'm alright. No one you worry about me. I have some weird songs that pop into my head sometimes. Okay. This is yellow, red, 04. There is actually a meaning to these numbers. Yeah. Sorry. I wanted to just double check on that. Never done it before. Though I've been recording things for my kiddos. But it's a little different. I hope that you are at peace with your family, with whoever you're stuck with yourself, if that's who you're stuck with right now. I hope that this is a time of transformation for you. Time that burns away those things that might not be quite as important as we thought they were. Time that opens you up to newness. Create in us a clean heart, oh God. Oh, okay, that's what I'm using. This is a yellow, actually, 17. Oh, I should probably be doing some of these in here. They must be done as well. Copics technically bleed into each other. You can use more than one color. In fact, I've done that before. You can layer colors to get a slightly different shade. But you probably know that most of my art is solid color. But still, it's all right. All right. I think that's the oranges, so I'm going to put them away real quick. Yeah. Normally I put these away in order. They're all out of order, but that's okay. I need to make that sheet that I was talking about anyways, and for that I'll put everything back in proper order. Oh, the yellow does need to go with the yellow, so... And I think all the reds are in there, so I can put those away as well. Oh. Although I need to not put the... Yeah. Everything in its proper place. Which is not always easy. I think the order of things is restful to me. And I think I am going to take a short break, but here it is kind of, well, that's silly. Here it is kind of up close. So hopefully you can see what I've done and what you got to see me do and what you heard me doing. Anyways, blessings upon you and your family. And may the peace of Christ that passes all understanding be upon you and within your household today. Amen.